Paul Hawksbee, Charlie Baker here on Talksport. Jim White earlier on contacted Farhad Moshiri, the Everton owner, and he was over in the States. He wasn't there last night for the derby. And Jim asked him whether Rafa was under any pressure of getting the sack, and he gave him an answer, and here it is.
Football is about crisis one day and glory the following day. Rafa is a good manager, and underperformance is largely due to the injuries. Next 2 weeks, we will get to a full squad. In the meantime, results will improve. Rafa needs time to have his mark on the squad. He will be supported to add depth to the squad. Managers need time. I have no doubt that we will have a strong second half to the season.
That followed that 4-1 defeat to Liverpool at Goodison last night. Let's get a reaction to that and discuss the game and where any blame should lie with Dave Johnson from Falcon Blues TV. Good afternoon, Dave.
Afternoon, gents. I'd say good, but it's not.
No, understandably. What do you make of that then? What Farhad Moshiri told Jim White?
My first question is, why is he telling Jim White? Why does it need? I mean, I get, he's coming out to talk sport and everything else. That's fine, but the way that it's like he's text his mate. It's like trying to text your mate because you're trying to get the afternoon off work because you don't want to speak to someone or something happened and you don't want to deliver bad news. That's not how a Premier League football club should be operating. It should be through the correct channels, through the club. And I do appreciate Jim White, at least poking the bear and getting a response out of Moshiri, but that's not the way to go. And I think that's irked an awful lot of Evertonians, especially given the evening that we had last night. Yeah,
you'd like that to have been a public statement.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a public statement, but just go through the proper channels, go through the club. You had Christian Perslow on with Aston Villa last week. What's wrong with a bit of clarity and a bit of transparency and being one with the club? Because that to me just seems like he doesn't want to know. He's either too scared to come out and speak to the fans, or he just doesn't care. There'll be all that questions about, he's pumped X amount of money into the club. That's great, but he's still got to take his medicine for things when things aren't going right within the club.
Do you think there's a bit of sympathy among some Evertonians, some of your friends, fellow Evertonians, for Rafa Benitez? Because there is this kind of sense that, if you put an ex-Liverpool manager in there and it doesn't work out, he becomes a very easy target. If you want to be Machiavellian about it, I'm not suggesting for a minute this was the board's thinking, but it's not if you are looking to be a bit sneaky, it's not a bad way of going about things, is it?
Definitely. I mean, it's not. It's never going to be the ideal appointment. He was on a hiding to nothing the second he took the job. For someone, he goes, I know the city and everything else. Mate, so does Paul McCartney. It's not one of those things where you can say, oh well, he knows the city, he should manage Liverpool, or he should manage Everton. He's been in that other camp for that long and that ingrained in that club that it shouldn't have even been a question for me that he shouldn't have been anywhere near this football club. The fact that he is making decisions does make me really, really frustrated when I don't even listen to interviews because I don't really want him here. Obviously, there will be sympathy from other Evertonians because he's only been given 1.7 million to spend in the transfer window. He's got a lackluster team, a team that is struggling with injuries and form and everything else. And the fault doesn't just lie with Benitez. It goes higher and higher than that. It goes right to the very top, and there just seems to be there's going to be a loss of identity between the fans and Everton Football Club because there's that many people who just don't want to know at the moment because we're giving everything and we're getting nothing in return.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think they looked too bad last night. I thought they gave it a really good go, Everton, last night. And at 2-1, I did think they could have come back but Liverpool was just so good. So was it the fact that it was Liverpool last night that it mirrored where your club is going wrong?
I think last night was the straw that broke the camel's back. I mean, we knew what to expect. I'd left on 75 minutes because I'd just had enough. Damari Gray not scored, I'd have probably left at half time or sooner because Liverpool really should have been 4-0 up in the opening 20 minutes because we absolutely gifted it to them last night. Not one player wants to put in a tackle or make a worthwhile pass. And we just gave Jordan Henderson the opportunity to just run the show, zipping it about the place, and no one got near a Liverpool player. No one laid the glove on anyone. But that's not just last night. That's week and week and week. And the week's gone. It's just been the same. There's been no change. And I get the injuries and I get the lack of personnel. But when you're not putting in any kind of guts or just showing up, which we didn't do for the opening half hour, where we could have been really, really punished.
Yeah.
Then that's not going to stick with Evertonians.
So where do you go from here, do you think, Dave? I mean, do you want to see the manager go? Do you want a new man to come in? Do you think that would make a great deal of difference at the moment? I mean, and do you have any sympathy, as we said, with the fact that, especially Calvert-Lewin is a huge loss. He's your main goal scorer. An awful lot of what you do is built around his presence and what he brings you in goals. Most teams would struggle without the kind of talisman in the team. So do you have any sympathy there for the manager, considering what he's having to work with?
Yeah, of course, but at the same time, he's also supposed to be this master tactician that the media and the press paint him to be. We set up a 4-4-2 against Liverpool and got a hiding, and probably deservedly so, because the way we set up, it just wasn't good enough. And it's, like I said, it's been the same for the past few weeks. Watford, Brentford, even QPR to a lesser extent, we haven't set up the way we should. Yeah, we've missed Calvert-Lewin, but adjust the side accordingly to play and it's not. He's continuing with Solomon Rondon. We're in a period now where Everton is stuck, and we haven't got a named striker. Okay, so what about this youth academy that's won Premier League 2 year after year and is doing so well? Why not blood some of the youngsters? There was 2 strikers on the bench there with Tosin and Lewis Dobbin. We're 3-1 down. What's the harm in giving them 20 minutes?
Yeah.
Same with Brentford. We were chasing the game, and he brings on a defensive midfielder. These tactics and these substitutions at times. No, I don't have any sympathy for him. But unfortunately, sacking him solves nothing. We probably can't afford to sack him. And who is the answer? I don't know. But I'm not paid the thousands of pounds every week to come up with that answer. But,
what about I was going to say, what about the Duncan? Finally, the Duncan Ferguson. People have been talking about the idea of him becoming the manager. How would you feel about that?
I think he doesn't want to lose face with the fans. If he took it on full time, he even said after the United game when we drew, he didn't want it full time, because I don't. As much as that was a great 3 or 4 games to get us gel the team back together, gel the fans back together with the team and everything else, it's not sustainable. And Duncan's tactics weren't great. A lot of it was more about passion than actually trying to win a game. It was very reminiscent of the Dogs of War type of football that we saw in the 90s with Joe Royle's team. And yeah, that's great, but eventually that's going to come and bite you every time, because there's going to be teams like Man City or United who are just going to pick you off when you start doing stuff like that, because we haven't got, and the problem is with it, we haven't got the quality to do it, and we haven't got the personnel who are willing to do that kind of dirty work, if you like, and that showed last night. There's not enough in there.
Yep, it's not a good situation. We'll see how it all pans out. Thank you, Dave. Thanks for joining us. All the best.
Pleasure, gents. Cheers.
Dave Johnston there from Falcon Blues.